Yo, welcome back to the Further Your Lifestyle podcast, conversations on lifestyle, passions, and hustles. My name's Chris Felling, I'm your host, and I'm super excited to be back here once again, having the conversation with you. And we're episode 44, and we're back live and well here in 2022. I've had a couple of weeks off, and it's been great to be able to just rest, reflect, and do some planning and just think ahead of what's to come for 22, not just for this podcast, but just life in general. And I hope you've all had a wonderful time. I hope you've had a great break, and I hope you're all doing fine. Hope you're doing well, no matter where you are, what you're doing, who you are, and you might not even be listening to this at the start of the year. So anyway, I hope you are doing well. I just want to first start off with a big thank you. We're 44 episodes into this, and I'm just overwhelmed with everything that's been happening and how things have been progressing, and I want to thank you all for the support, because just wow, it means the world to me having people listen to this. So thank you so much. Now I just want to dive straight into it, because I'm motivated. I'm always motivated at the start of every year, and look, I like to leverage that because it's an opportunity to milk, I guess, a kind of a wave or a downhill experience, and what I mean by downhill is it means you can kind of catch that speed and run with it and hit the ground running really, really quick. I know that's not for everyone, but for me, that's how it works. And I want to dive in really with the question being, what do you want from this year? This year is exactly what you'll make it. It can be big, it can be small. It is exactly what you'll make it. But I guess if we step away from taking this away from just a year perspective and really focus on, what do you want in general? What do you want in life? What do you want? And you can be as detailed as you like, or you can not, but really, what's the first thing that's popping into your mind? What's popping into your head right now? Wherever you're doing, if you're listening in the car, if you're commuting, if you're out running, if you're just, doing something in the background and you're listening to this, what's popping into your mind? Is it freedom? Is it money? Is it time? Is it love? And I bet you, I can guarantee that it is probably something relevant to one of those points. But I really wanted you to think about it, right? But regardless, at the end of the day, I really just want to talk to you about making this year your best. And it really actually comes down to not even about necessarily this year, but I just want to help you be your best. And this year, each year, and each day, we can just leverage this year to be a way to get you kickstarted, to get you motivated, and to get things happening. But at the end of the day, I really want to help you regardless, whether it's, today, tomorrow, each day, the next year, and so on and so forth. There's something that I've really been, I guess, churning on and thinking about for a while. And it's probably a bit of a cliche statement, but today is the best day to start working on a better you for tomorrow. And it's kind of like the saying, the best time to start investing was 20 years ago, and the next best time was today. Or the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the next best time is now or today. So it's playing along those same realms of thinking. But if we just have a little flashback to 2021, it was a lot of things. It was a year that we all expected things were going to be bigger and better, which I think they were in some, senses. Well, for me, it was my best year yet, but that's why it comes really down to what we take from it and what we do. But I think the key thing is there's been so many learnings from 2021 and even the last couple of years. And I've been reflecting over the last couple of weeks, what I took away from it personally. But I think it's relevant for anyone that's listening, and I hope it is. But in short, it really has boiled down to a couple of key learnings. And that's what I want to go through today. And the first one is, number one, the big key learning is, and takeaway, if you want change, you have to make the change. And what I mean by this, I want to talk about, just the last year in a nutshell, and a bit of a story here is I took a chance on myself in 2021. It was 2020 where I originally had to build up to making this decision. It took me 6 months. Actually, it took me 3 months, and then it took 6 months for it to actually happen. But stepping away from a 9-to-5 gig, a very stable job, a very great job, a very blessing of a job. And I wanted to step away to really, at the end of the day, it was to start this podcast. I've always had this dream, and it took me years to figure out what that was. And, I started to really, with everything going on, working from home and lockdowns, this is back in 2020, to make that decision, I had to really look hard at myself, but also think about some of the more realistic points around well, okay, if I take this chance and I step away from the 9 to 5, I'm not going to have an income. So the first thing I wanted to look at, and naturally what we think about is, well, how can I afford to do this? So I had to look at my savings. I had to really, look at it from a worst case scenario and think, well, how long can I last if I don't make a single piece of coin, any money whatsoever? 1 year, 2 years, longer? And going through that, I guess, that tough conversation with myself, but also understanding it, it meant I was ready to commit and give it a go, because I understood what the expectations were. I understood what could work and what couldn't work, and how long I could last, and what were the limits, what were the boundaries, and how long could I actually last to make this happen. But I also had to be realistic, and I think, I'm not saying to go quit your jobs or to leave your jobs. And just for the record, I haven't quit my job. I'm actually on a leave of absence for up to 2 years. But I'm not saying to go just quit and jump in and go all in, but you have to be realistic. And for me, it meant, well, I don't want to have to dig into my savings. I want to be able to do this podcast, but I want to be able to make some money and, do things that I want to do. So I had to really jump to the things that lean on the things in which I knew in the past I could make money from. And that was the quickest way to bring dollars into my pocket. And that was reselling. And 1 year later, and lots of hard work and learnings, we've done this podcast where, we're more than 40 episodes, more than 1,500 downloads, and that's because of you, so thank you. But in the reselling world, I've been able to actually make some revenue. I've done $52,000 in revenue, and I've been able to profit around $30,000. And I mean, I had no idea that was going to happen. I had the intent, I had the expectation, I had the dream, I had the goal to be able to support being able to make this podcast. But it's now that it's all happened, it's a blur, and it's just been crazy. But I don't even want to talk about me. This isn't what I want to talk about. I want to talk about you. I want to focus on you and bring it back to what I was talking about. And we were talking about change and all that jazz. Well, the key for change is you. To take action, to make the change, it really comes down to you. It is all you, or me. In this case, it was me. And that's why I wanted to share that story, because none of this would have happened if I didn't make the change, if I didn't make the step to take the action. And that is number 2. That's point number 2, is you need to take action. And this is very cliche, but it's actually, it's so simple. It really is. You have to take action. You need to understand your intent, understand your goal, and understand what the better version of you looks like. Is that tomorrow? Is that in a year's time, 6 months' time? Is it in 5 years? But understanding also, how are you going to get there? Where does the road ahead look like? What does it even look like? How do you envision it? And, you can start to work on re-engineering that, but we'll get to that shortly. For me, when it meant starting this podcast, it meant setting a launch date. It meant setting a date in which I had to work towards making sure I was ready to go. So it meant scheduling guests. It meant coming up with episodes and content ideas. It also meant pressing record and actually doing something like this and getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. Because if you're not, at the start, you're not going to be comfortable. You're going to be uncomfortable. But the more you do it, you get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And it's the same with anything that you do. It was like when I started doing my reselling. It meant, and it took me 6 months to realize it, that I had to do consistency. I had to put in work daily. I had to do steps in order for me to grow. And for me, that was 15 listings each day, every day. It wasn't for the full 365 days, because it took me 6 months to realize it. But this is what worked for me, and it enabled me to get, I guess, into a groove, and enabled me to grow and find that growth. So bringing it back to actions is, what are the steps required for you? And it's actually really easy to figure out. It just comes down to reverse engineering, right? If you want to run 2,000 kilometers in 2022, well, it's basically 5.5 kilometers or almost 6 kilometers each day for every day, or 166 kilometers a month, or maybe it's 38 kilometers a week. And to me, the 38 kilometers sounds a lot easier to do than doing 5 kilometers a day. It's different for everyone. Perspective changes things. And I think this also leads me to point number 3, which is you have to be willing to show up and, show up with intent to progress. You need to have that progression intent. That's it. You just need to have a plan, you need to have intent, and you need to show up. And obviously the plan is, I got to do 5K today, or I got to do 2K today, or I need to list this many items, or I need to record this many things, or I need to, whatever it is. Understand what those are, that's the plan, and then show up with intent and work towards making it happen. You want to know the secret to success? It's as corny as it may sound, it's something that I've been playing with over the last few weeks, and I guess it's a quick win to success or a secret. And I know people say there's no secret to it or there's no quick way. Well, it's not necessarily quick, but it's a quick answer. And if you really, really want to have a successful year, a successful whatever, it really comes down to this simple point: is 1, show up; 2, with intent; 3, with accountability; and 4, with action, or with taking action. So basically, all you need to do is show up with intent, with some accountability, and take action, and boom. Do this for 365 days, and I guarantee you, with these small steps each day, the small bites, the digestible things, the manageable steps, you will make the progress of where you want to be. But of course, you can't do this if you don't know where you want to be. So it all starts with you and understanding, what do you want from this year? It is exactly what you will make it. So you ready? I'm pumped. I'm super excited. I'm super keen to see what we can do this year. And to make it even more, I guess, so we're in this together, is, I've got my own ambitious goals for this year too. And specifically, I guess in this case, if we're talking about the podcast, is I want to reach 10,000 downloads and I want to generate an income from this podcast. I feel like with the 10,000 downloads, it starts to just talk a bit more real. I mean, did I expect to get 1,500 downloads in 2021? I had no idea. The goal for last year was to start the podcast. The goal was to have 11 guests, and the goal was to do episodes each week. And I did that. I had 22 guests, and we did enough episodes each week. I started on the 28th of February, so I was a little late to the game, but we got it done. And I want to see if I can do this for this year, and I'm putting it out there. 10,000 downloads. Can we do it, or more? But we'll do it together. Let's see what we can do together, right? And I want to hear from you. I want you to share with me, what's your journey? What's your goals? What's your intent? And what are your actions for 2022 or whenever you're listening to this? Let's be accountable together. Let's start this journey. Let's go on this roller coaster ride, and let's do this together. And if you want to share that with me, what you can do is message me on Instagram at Further Your Lifestyle, or hit me up on Twitter at Further Your Life. You can leave me a comment on, if you're listening to this on the YouTube experience, or you can drop me an email at hello@furtheryourlifestyle.com. However it is, just get in contact, right? I mean, there's plenty of ways you can get in contact. Just make it happen. Reach out and let's chat. Let's continue the conversation. Let's share ideas, and let's work together on making this happen and the best year yet each for the both of us for 2022. I'm excited. I'm pumped, and I really do appreciate you listening. If you enjoyed this, share it with someone else. Maybe you've already got your year kind of figured out and you're ready to rock and roll. And maybe you didn't need to hear it in this form. And maybe you didn't need this additional motivation. But if you think there is someone else that maybe needs to hear this, or maybe just needs a little bit of a pep talk or a little bit of a boost, or just someone to come on the ride with them, send them this podcast. I've got my hand up if you're watching on the YouTube. I want to come along for the ride with them, and I want to help them, and I want to see what we can do. So share this episode with them. You don't have to share the whole podcast. Just, if you think there's someone out there that could benefit from this, I would really appreciate it, of course, and that's going to help me get closer to that 10,000 downloads too. But no, honestly, I really do want to help, and that's what it's all about, is seeing how we can do these things that we want to achieve, but do them together, and surrounding yourself with each other that are of positive nature and have the same intent or have the same goals or the same mindset. It's going to help you move forwards, onwards and upwards, and get you closer to where you want to be, probably a little bit quicker. So, my name's Chris Furlong. It's been an absolute honor, absolute pleasure to be able to have this conversation with you. Really do appreciate you hanging out and just listening. That's it. Welcome to 2022. Let's get it. Let's make it happen. And you have a wonderful day. Cheers. Now, if you didn't know, we do have the podcast merch, and this is with a key focus of enamel pins. Now, if you haven't checked these out, make sure you do, because the intent of these are really just to be a small token and a reminder for you to charge on, to push on, and to further your lifestyle. Whether it is a gift for someone else to encourage them, or maybe to inspire them, or maybe it's a way to motivate yourself, or you can simply just make a purchase to simply support the podcast, which would be greatly appreciated. We do also have some sweaters and some long tees, so make sure you check it out. Link in the description and in the show notes. Really do appreciate it. Cheers.